On April 6, 2026, at exactly 8:25 in the evening, inside a sealed dome on the southeastern coast of India, a small group of scientists witnessed something that nuclear engineers around the world had been attempting to achieve for decades. There were no fireworks, no massive press conference, no celebration broadcast globally, just a quiet, controlled nuclear reaction inside a reactor called the prototype fast breeder reactor in a coastal town called Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. And in that moment, India did not just cross a scientific milestone. India took a step that global energy analysts and strategic researchers are now calling one of the most significant developments in nuclear history. And the reason the world is paying very close attention is because of what comes next. Welcome to Strategic Dynamics Edge. If you're new here and you want to understand the real forces that shape our world, energy, geopolitics, science, and strategy, subscribe right now and hit the bell. We break down the stories that deserve far more attention than they get. And this one, trust me, is at the top of that list. Share this video with someone who follows global energy or geopolitics, because this story affects every country on Earth. And before we go further, a quick note. This video is meant to be educational. Some of the numbers and projections discussed here represent theoretical estimates from scientific literature, and the full realization of India's nuclear roadmap remains a long-term, ongoing process. We will flag that clearly as we go. Now let us go back, not to 2026, but to 1954. India had gained independence just 7 years earlier. The country was working hard to feed its own population. There were almost no highways, very few universities, and foreign investment was minimal. But in November of that year, a physicist named Homi Jahangir Bhabha walked into a conference in New Delhi with Prime Minister Nehru in the audience and made a statement so forward-looking that it genuinely surprised everyone in the room. He pointed, not to oil fields, not to coal mines, but to India's beaches, the dark, mineral-rich sands running along the coasts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Odisha. And he said those beaches contain over 500,000 tons of thorium. And those beaches, he declared, hold India's energy future. Now, here is where the science becomes genuinely remarkable. Thorium is not just any mineral. According to theoretical energy calculations, to produce 1 gigawatt of electricity, you need approximately 3.5 million tons of coal, or around 2 million tons of oil, or about 200 tons of uranium. But thorium, based on its theoretical energy density, requires just around 1 ton to produce the same output under optimal reactor conditions. Scientists are careful to note that these are idealized figures. Real-world efficiency depends heavily on reactor design and fuel processing. But the point stands, thorium's energy density is extraordinarily high compared to conventional fuels, and India holds roughly 25% of the world's known thorium reserves, more than any other single country. While Brazil holds approximately 6.32 lakh tons and Australia around 5.95 lakh tons, India is sitting on an estimated 8.5 lakh tons. According to Indian government projections, if fully harnessed through the 3-stage program, these reserves could theoretically support India's energy needs for several hundred years. So here is the question that naturally follows. If India has been aware of this potential for decades, why does it still spend tens of thousands of crores every month importing crude oil? Why does every conflict in the Middle East put pressure on the Indian rupee and raise prices for ordinary families? The answer is not a lack of awareness. The answer is that unlocking thorium's potential requires a specific, carefully sequenced technological pathway. And that pathway, designed by Bhabha in the 1950s, is exactly what India has been building, 1 stage at a time, for 70 years. But before we explain the stages, you need to understand the geopolitical context that made this path not just ambitious, but necessary. Because what happened to India's nuclear program in the 20th century is one of the clearest examples of how energy and geopolitics are inseparable. In May 1974, India tested its first nuclear device, which it described as a peaceful nuclear experiment. The response from the established nuclear powers was swift. The 5 countries that already possessed nuclear weapons, the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, and China, formed an international body called the Nuclear Suppliers Group. By 1992, the group established a clear condition for access to nuclear technology and fuel. Any country seeking such access would need to commit, on record, to not developing nuclear weapons. India declined to sign, citing what it viewed as an unequal framework, one that allowed existing nuclear states to retain their weapons while restricting others. The consequence was significant. From the mid-1970s to 2008, India faced substantial restrictions on nuclear technology imports, fuel access, and international reactor partnerships. India's reactors operated at reduced capacity during parts of this period, not due to engineering failure, but due to constrained fuel supply. India had the facilities and the expertise, but access to the international nuclear supply chain was severely limited. And this is precisely what made Bhabha's 3-stage plan not just visionary, but the only realistic road forward. Stage 1 of the plan was to build reactors that do not need enriched uranium at all. Most nuclear reactors around the world use enriched uranium, where the concentration of the fissile isotope U-235 is artificially boosted. This enrichment process requires advanced technology that India could not easily access. So Bhabha's engineers designed reactors that use heavy water as a moderator instead of regular water. In regular water, hydrogen atoms have just one proton. In heavy water, each hydrogen atom has one proton and one neutron. That difference matters enormously, because heavy water slows neutrons down without absorbing them, which means the chain reaction can be sustained using natural uranium, straight from the ground, with no enrichment required. India built 22 of these pressurized heavy water reactors over the decades. They generated electricity, but they were also doing something critical in the background. Natural uranium is 99.3% U-238, a stable isotope that does not split on its own, and only 0.7% U-235, the one that does. But when a neutron strikes U-238, it absorbs that neutron and gradually transforms, first into U-239, then neptunium, and eventually into plutonium-239. So while stage 1 reactors generated electricity on the front end, they were steadily producing plutonium on the back end. For decades, India was stockpiling that plutonium, preparing for stage 2. And if this explanation is making the science click for you, drop a comment below. Tell me what part surprised you most. And if you have not yet, subscribe to Strategic Dynamics Edge so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Sharing this video genuinely helps this channel grow and helps this story reach more people who should hear it. Stage 2 is what achieved a major milestone in Kalpakam on April 6, 2026. The prototype fast breeder reactor achieved criticality, meaning it successfully sustained a self-powered nuclear chain reaction. This is a milestone that several advanced nuclear programs around the world have worked toward for decades, with mixed results at the commercial scale. India's program, developed at a fraction of the cost estimated for comparable international efforts, reached this point after years of engineering work. Here is what makes a fast breeder reactor different. In a conventional reactor, neutrons are slowed down. In a fast breeder, there is no moderator. The neutrons stay fast, traveling at extraordinary speeds. Scientists took the plutonium stockpiled from stage 1, mixed it with depleted uranium, and created what is called MOX fuel, mixed oxide fuel. This fuel goes into the core of the reactor. When plutonium atoms at the core split, they release heat that generates electricity. But those same fast neutrons fly outward into a surrounding layer, called the blanket, which is made of U-238. And just as in stage 1, U-238 absorbs those neutrons and converts into fresh plutonium. The reactor is consuming fuel at the core while producing new fuel at the blanket. It breeds more fuel than it uses. That is the defining characteristic and the engineering achievement of a fast breeder reactor. And achieving criticality in the PFBR is a significant step forward on India's nuclear roadmap, even as scientists acknowledge that moving from criticality to full commercial scale operation involves further stages of testing, refinement, and time. Stage 3, and this is where Bhabha's original vision fully comes to life, is where thorium finally enters the picture. Once India develops sufficient plutonium through a fleet of fast breeder reactors, the uranium blankets around the core are replaced with thorium blankets. When fast neutrons strike thorium-232, it absorbs them, transforms through a decay chain, and eventually becomes uranium-233, a fissile material that can power advanced heavy water reactors. Stage 3 reactors burn this uranium-233, and in doing so, they unlock India's 8.5 lakh tons of thorium, the mineral sitting on those beaches that Bhabha pointed to in 1954. Each stage fuels the next. Stage 1 produced plutonium. Stage 2 uses that plutonium and starts converting thorium into U-233. Stage 3 burns that U-233 and accesses centuries of domestic energy. The April 2026 milestone in Kalpakam marks India's entry into the active phase of Stage 2, a meaningful step in that long relay race. Full realization of Stage 3 remains a future goal that will require continued investment, technological development, and time. But the direction is now clearer than it has ever been. To put into perspective why this matters economically, India is the third largest energy consumer in the world. Its defense budget stands at approximately $74 billion annually. Its crude oil import bill runs to around $137 billion per year, nearly double the defense budget. Natural gas imports add another 14 to 15 billion. Every significant rise in global oil prices puts pressure on the rupee, raises fuel costs, and feeds inflation that reaches every household in the country. The families at the lower end of the income spectrum feel that pressure most acutely. A domestic, long-term energy solution built on India's own thorium reserves would represent a fundamental shift in that vulnerability. Not overnight, and not without enormous continued effort, but directionally and strategically. The geopolitical implications are also significant. A country that can power itself from domestic thorium for generations does not face the same external pressures as one that depends on imported fuel. It changes the nature of diplomatic leverage. It changes how energy security is calculated, and it changes what role India plays in global energy discussions going forward. Analysts across the spectrum, from energy economists to strategic researchers, are watching the Kalpakam development carefully, precisely because of what a successful three-stage program would mean at scale. Homi Bhabha designed this plan in the 1950s. He did not live to see Stage 2 reach criticality. He passed away in 1966. But the program he architected continued for 7 decades, through sanctions, through fuel shortages, through periods of international isolation, and through the quiet, patient work of generations of Indian scientists. And on April 6, 2026, inside that dome in Tamil Nadu, his roadmap moved one major step forward. Before we close, the important disclaimer, and I want to be clear about this because intellectual honesty matters. The numbers cited in this video regarding thorium energy potential, fuel comparisons, and reserve estimates are drawn from scientific literature and government projections, but they represent theoretical or estimated figures. Real-world implementation depends on reactor efficiency, fuel processing capabilities, engineering timelines, and regulatory frameworks. Achieving criticality in the PFBR is genuinely significant, but it is one milestone on a long road. Stage 3, the full thorium cycle, remains a future objective. This video is designed to explain the science, the history, and the potential, not to overstate where India currently stands. What India has demonstrated is that a carefully designed long-term scientific strategy, sustained across decades and political administrations, can produce results that the world takes seriously. Whether Stage 3 is realized in 10 years or 30, the framework Bhabha built is now actively producing results. And that is a story worth understanding, regardless of what country you're from. If this video gave you a clearer picture of something you had not fully understood before, hit the like button. It takes 1 second, and it helps this content reach more people who would genuinely benefit from it. Subscribe to Strategic Dynamics Edge if you are not already part of this community. Share this video, send it to a friend, post it in a group, put it on your story. And leave a comment below with your honest take. Where do you think India's energy picture stands in 20 years? I read the comments, and I will be in there responding. I will see you in the next one.